pop in as they're available. So
Yeah.
if you want to start the recording.
Yeah, so I just started. We've got a few people already who have joined, so I'm sure more will be coming in, but we can go ahead and start. So welcome everybody who's here, and we have Guillaume Tardy from Domaine Jean Tardy et Fils today, which we're very excited about. So we started DNS. We started our relationship with Guillaume and his wines a year ago, about a year ago, a little more than 1 year ago. And with the 2017 vintage, and now the 2018s are arriving. So the first shipment arrives in New York, I think a little bit later this month, any day now. And then the shipment to the West Coast, to California, should be here at the end of the month, around Thanksgiving or so. But we've had a lot of questions about the wines. Many of our customers are not familiar. Are not as familiar with the wines. It's their first introduction and first experience with them. So we thought it'd be a great opportunity, since the whole world is on Zoom now, a great opportunity to introduce everybody to Guillaume in person, virtually at least, and hear from him and allow everyone to ask questions. There's many people who are on the call today who have some of the samples. We were able to get to them. So they can taste. We're going to taste a few wines at the end. But before we get to the wines, I want to take some time so that Guillaume can talk about his domain, a bit about the history and the beginnings, from the beginning and to where he is today, as the third generation at the domain, and then we can get more into specifics on the vineyards, on farming, on vinification, élevage, all of those sorts of questions, and details. So everyone, meet Guillaume Tardy, and Guillaume. I think a good place to start is with that history of the domain. As I mentioned, you are the third generation, yeah. So it really began with your grandfather, Victor.
Yeah. So hello everybody. First, nice to meet you with Zoom. Yeah. So I am the third generation of the domain. My grandfather started as a viticultural worker at Domaine Camuzet, so the domain before Méo Camuzet nowadays. And he had some vineyards as a métayage. So métayage is a sharecropping. So it means he looked after the vineyards, and at the harvest he harvested half of the grapes for him and the other half for Mr. Camuzet. But at that time, they used to make the wines for the domain as well and share the wine. And so my father, Jean Tardy, took over his father in 1966. And at that time, Mr. Méo came and got the Domaine Camuzet, so it became Domaine Méo Camuzet. And he had like 4 different métayers, so men who looked after his vineyard. It was the 2 Fourroy brothers, Mr. Henri Jaillet and my father. So they all looked after one part of the domain. And they used to work together very closely and make the wines together, uproot the vines together and replant together, and look after the domain. And so at that time, my father was looking after the Premier Cru, Les Chaumes, Vosne-Romanée Premier Cru, Nuits-Saint-Georges Premier Cru, Les Boudeaux, and one part of the Clos Vougeot. And me, I decided in 97 to come back working in the vines with my father. And at that time, we only owned the Bourgogne-Passe-Grain, the Chambolle-Musigny, and the Nuits-Saint-Georges village. So my father knew when he would get retired in 2007, he had to give back the vineyards to Méo Camuzet. So it was a big challenge for us to find new vineyards. And we got very lucky because within 10 years, we completely rebuilt the domain. And so we had the Vosne-Romanée in 99, Echezeaux 2002, 06 Fissin, 07 Gevrey, 08 Haute-Côte, and 010 the Nuits Premier Cru Argia. So it means when we left and gave back the domain, the vineyards of Méo Camuzet, we had our own small 4 hectares and a half domain. We mainly own everything except the Haute Cote de Nuits and the Echezeaux, as we do sharecropping with these vineyards. And the good news, I only know since 2 months, From 21, we will have 1 hectare, 0.36 Cote de Nuits village added to our vineyards.
Oh, great.
So,
In the same location?
It's a location, yeah. It's some friend of mine got great vineyards from family, and so they gave me this rent for 18 or 25 years, yeah.
Oh, wow. So is it in the same area as the Cote de Nuits that you have now, or?
No, it's in Comblanchien.
Comblanchien. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not Vosne-Romanée, but I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
We have a lot of more bottles to supply.
No, that's good. That's good because yeah, you are a very small domain. So
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 now
it's
we'll
nice to
be
have
like 5.5 hectares.
excellent.
All in the
That's
Côte
good news.
Yeah, thanks.
So you mentioned that you came back in '97. Before coming, you said you came back to the domain, but before that you were working in other country. Like
When I was 20 years old, so I was still young, but I did a try at a medical university for 1 year. But after that, I decided to start working with my father for a few months, and I thought it was a very nice job, being outside, looking after the wines, meeting the clients, and so then I got back. I went back to viticultural school for 1 year, and to enology school as well, faculty. And after that, I went in Australia for almost 1 year, and over there I worked with the Panel family in Pemberton, which were the pioneers of the wine in Western Australia with Mosswood. So it was a great experience. And when I got back in 2001, I was full-time with my father. And I got in charge of the winemaking first. Then 5 years later, the business. And when we left the vineyards of Etienne Camuzet in 2007, I got in charge totally of the vineyard as well. And
excellent.
now, even if my father is 81, so he still goes in some vineyards just to spend time and be happy outside, but I look after everything. Yeah.
So this is always a question that people have. I think I see it often anyway for Burgundy, because often in Burgundy you have the son or the daughter taking over for their parents, and a lot of domains have many generations. So, but today, and I would say in the last 10 and 20 years, we've seen this newer generation, younger generation like yourself, who are taking over. But they're also in many times they're the first generation that has studied viticulture and in school, and they've been to other countries, like you said, Australia or New Zealand or America or wherever, and worked in other wineries, and they're bringing back different ideas, maybe some different technology, things like this. So we've seen large changes in Burgundy. I think in general they're mostly positive changes. But the question I get often when the newer generation is taking over is what maybe is different from the way you work, either in the vineyards or in the winery, compared to your father before.
My father, started from nothing, and he didn't go to school for winemaking or vineyards culture. He learned everything with his father and with also Henri Jaillet and the other métayers who worked together. And but he had a great knowledge, but a knowledge just by looking the things and understanding things naturally. And I'm lucky because he gave that philosophy to me. And so I learned all the big bases with my father. But then, as you said, the school taught me a lot of things. I gave the explanation, the scientific explanation to what my father was used to do naturally. So it helped me to understand things and to think about new things to improve as well. And being in Australia in 2000 was a good experience because over there they had temperature control for all the winery. And when I saw that, I said, one day we'll have the same at home. but I had to wait like 10 years before setting up my new winery with all temperature control, and this is a huge step to make greater wines. Making wines, you can know how to make wine, but it's true that when you have the technology with you, you can just improve it, and that's great.
Oh, wonderful. That's good. Good answer.
And since 01, when I got back from Australia, we just bought a machine who was able to make cold, to cool the wine if you want, or warm a little bit the wine, but it was not as great as my equipment now. If you see at the pictures, I guess there's some pictures in the document you got. You can see the vats with all the ice around it, and this means when I bring the grapes in my winery at the harvest time, there is some ice around my vats, and so I directly cool down all the grapes down to 10 degrees, and they will stay at this temperature for almost 1 day, 1 week or 10 days.
I'm gonna show that picture. So this is the picture you're talking about here, yeah?
Yeah. And down you can see my father, Jean Tardy.
Oh, there's your dad.
Yeah, the big boss.
That's it. Yeah, that's it for the pictures, huh?
Yeah, but
so,
you can see the ice, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, before from 01, I introduced the cold maceration in my winemaking, but I really increased the quality from 10 when I could control separately each vat from my computer. Technology is great.
It can be.
And it makes me sleep better during harvest.
Sure. So let's talk a bit about. I think the most logical place to start is the vineyards. So you talked a bit about the different vineyards that you have in the Cote de Nuits. So, but as far as the way you farm and the philosophy behind the farming, how would you describe it? I know it says lutte raisonnée, but that can be cover a lot of things.
That's what everybody say, lutte raisonnée, but it doesn't really mean something when you say that. But lutte raisonnée, it means we plug the soils. We don't use any weed killers first. And to protect the vines, we spray as less as possible. So we control the dosage, you can say. We control that to not add more than the vineyards really need in the situation of one pressure. If there is less disease pressure, we use less spraying, and otherwise we have to do a little bit more. But since last year, if you want, since 5 years, I do like 70-80% normal spraying, and organic, and like 20-30% with something not so nice. But I control everything to not add too much. And last year, 2020, was my first vintage with no chemicals at all. Only organic, and that's the way I'm looking for now. I will try to do always organic, unless 1 year is very complicated. And I did some studies this year of
biodynamic.
Yeah, biodynamic, yeah. And so I will introduce some maybe next year, or I think I will try next spring to introduce a few bases, and then develop on this way.
That's interesting.
But I always thought you must be clean. If you want a clean wine, you must be clean with yourself and with the culture and everything.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. That's great. That's good to know. So after the farming, when it comes to the harvest and vinification, you want to talk a little bit about your philosophy there, beginning with whole cluster, grappe entière or all of that, and go from there?
Okay, so at harvest time, I'm always one of those who start picking the grapes in the first part, in the beginning. Always a little bit, there's always 3 waves of picking, and me, I'm always in the first wave because I prefer to pick the grapes a little bit less ripe than some others winemakers, to always keep a freshness. And I think when you speak about my wines, you speak about freshness and refreshing character. And for Pinot Noir, I think you always need to avoid the over ripeness. This is the enemy of the Pinot Noir. And even on a year like a warmer year and ripe year like 18, I kept all my my natural sugars between below 13.5. So
wow.
all was picked between 13, 13.5, and sometimes you can hear about 18. Some people picked around 14.5, 15, and it's not my philosophy. Me, I always prefer to make it sooner and keep this freshness. And so when I bring the grapes into the winery, we distem 100% always. I never try the whole cluster. For me, I love a lot of wines made with whole cluster, but for me, the finesse of the tannins is very important, and for me, it comes from the skins. So that's why I distem. Then I cool down all the grapes. So I don't crush the grapes. Maybe you've got like maybe 20, 30% of the grapes crushed, but otherwise it's whole berries. And we cool it down in the vats to 10 degrees and leave it like this for 1 week. No pumping over, no pigeage, nothing. And so we just let macerate cold. And like in a fruit salad, the cold will give the nice fruit flavors and extract the color as well. And so then on the second week, I will start pumping over the juice, and then the yeast will start fermenting very slowly because they start from low temperature, and when the temperature is low, the yeast don't work very hard. And so during that stage, they will produce more glycerol than ethanol. So this will give the nice texture and warm texture to the wines. And so the ferment will go maybe 1 week. So I do just pumping overs, once in the morning, once in the evening. And by the time the sugar will be transformed into alcohol, the temperature will rise from 12 degrees up to 31, 32 degrees, but very linear. And with my equipment, the temperature will go like this, and no big spikes of temperature. So when you can control it, it's much better. And during the ferment, as you know, the yeast will produce CO2. So it means all the skins will rise up to the top of the vat. It will make a very big cap, very solid cap. And the juice will be below. So they will, the juice and the upper, you've got all the skins and the pips and everything. And so that's why you pump the juice from the bottom to wash the top. And the juice will go through the skins like this and extract very softly the flavors, the tannins, and all the things you need. And at the end, when there's no more sugar, I will start tasting my wines every day. And if the extraction comes easily, I will do just one pigeage and wait maybe 1 or 2 days before doing another one. And if on some vintages you need to help the nature by tasting, I say, okay, so we'll do 1 day 1 pigeage, next day 1 pigeage, taste again. If it comes well, I wait, otherwise I do 1 more. But in total, this is the third phase, if you want, the third period of the winemaking. This will last almost 1 week. And during that time with my equipment, I could keep the natural 32 degree temperature. And this will help to extract softly. And when I feel the wine is ready, I stop the temperature, the warming, and then I will press my wines 1 day or 2 days later. So the whole vatting will last something like 3 weeks or 3 weeks and a half. And then when it's pressed, you take off the clear juice of the vat. This will represent 1/3 of the total cuvée. And then all the skins, you will put it in your press and press it for 1 hour with a pneumatic press. And this will give you so the press juice. And this represents 2/3 of the total cuvée. And so on a normal year, you blend everything. If there was some hail or some problems, you would separate. But usually we blend it, and then we will let settle down for 1 week. 10 days, 2 weeks in the vat. Like this, we will the big deposit will go at the bottom of the vat, and then I will transfer into the barrels in my cellar for almost 16, 17 months in oak.
And the fermentation, everything that you were talking about before, you're doing this in concrete vats or stainless steel, or
it's all stainless steel vats. Yeah.
And then you transfer into the oak barrels. And I know for the aging, it depends on the cuvée. Yeah, the age of the oak, everything.
I almost do the same aging length with all my cuvées, even my haute côte. The only change will be that the haute côte will be with only like 5 or 10% new oak. The village wines will be between 40% of new oak, and the rest is a 1 year old barrel or 2 years old barrels. The Premier Cru is 50% new oak, and the Grand Cru is 80 to 100% new oak. Yeah. And when the wine is strong, you can add a lot of new oak. When the wine is a little bit lighter, it's not good to add too much new oak. Otherwise, you can damage your wine.
Yeah, like mark the wine. Yeah.
The wood would take over, and it's not good if you want to keep the freshness and the fruity character.
Yeah. And I should add mention here also to everyone on the call right now. If anyone has any questions for Guillaume, you can type them into the chat, and he will see it, and I will see it. We can make sure your questions are answered here. So I wanted to mention that before we continue. So that's great. That's good. I mean, I think we kind of covered the basics in terms of the winemaking and the aging and everything. If we want to get really specific and really technical, we could ask also on the type of barrels that you use. Are you working with many different coopers for your barrels, or?
Yeah, for my barrels, I use 3 different coopers. So I use Raymond. I use the historical of the Domaine Mérieux, and the other one is a new one, is Montgillard. But after I did many tries since 15 years with oak from Allier, oak from Les Vosges, oak middle toasted, different burns. But at the end, I decided that there is one barrel I prefer in each cooperies. And now for all my wines, I will use my favorite barrels of Mérieux, my favorite from Montgillard, and my favorite from Raymond. And I just adjust the toast. And now I only take 100% Allier wood, because so Allier is a forest in the middle of the France. And the oak gives some tannins very supple. It gives elegance and finesse to the wines, because it's a quite temperated area. And at the opposite, before at the stage at my father time, if you want, when he used to make it, I use wood from Les Vosges, and the wood from Les Vosges is near Germany, so very cold place, and it makes a very strong oak, and this gave structure and power to the wines. But if I want something going well with my wines, Allier is much better for me.
Yeah. That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. I always read about the different forests, but I haven't heard someone talk about the style of the wood and what it gives to the wine from each before like that. That's interesting.
It's like Pinot Noir. It depends where you plant it, and it doesn't give the same character. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Trees are the same, huh? Okay, so I think
you want some. You want I tell you quickly about the aging? My way to age the wines. It's very short, but we were talking about oak, and so. You know, when the wine is in the barrels, there is always a second fermentation. It's no more alcoholic. It's no more with the yeast. It's a malolactic fermentation, and it's made with the bacteria, lactic bacteria. They will transform the malic acid into lactic acid. So this will give like a more butter character to the acid in the wines and make them rounder. And so half of the winemaker will rack the wines after the malolactic. So it means they will separate the clear wine from the lees and put it in another barrel to finish on a fine lees. And the other half of the winemakers do like me. I prefer to decant more after the pressing and then leave my wines for all the aging on the lees. So my lees are fine from the beginning, but I believe the lees will feed the wine during the aging. They will give more texture complexity. And also because the wine doesn't see any air, the CO2 level will be higher. And this CO2 will preserve the freshness of the fruit and the character of the wine until the aging, until the end of the aging in barrel. And so at the end, after 16 months, 17 months, when I decide the wine is ready, so I will transfer all the wines, the different cuvées in the winery. So it means I will blend for the Vosne-Romanée, if there is 3 new barrels and 4 old barrels, we will blend them together and leave them in the winery for 1 year, 1 month and a half before the bottling at 15 degrees. For me, the temperature is always very important for all the stages.
That's good. I like this. I like this style, this approach as well. So keeping the wine without racking too much. I think it does. I've always found it preserves more of the freshness in the wine to work this way. That's my opinion, but that's good. So so I think now maybe it's a good time to start talking more specifically about the different cuvées, and some people who have some samples can taste right now as well. And yeah, go ahead.
There will be only 2 cuvées we don't present today, but can speak about it a few words later after if you prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to start with the Bourgogne Haute Cote de Nuits, and this is cuvée Mailly. Maybe you can tell everyone who Mailly is.
So yeah, I got that vineyard in 2008. And in the same time, I got my only daughter. So we had a daughter in 2008, and her name was Maëlie. So I decided to give her name to that new cuvée.
And it's
she's young, but she's got her wine, yeah.
And they're pretty old plantings for this vineyard. They were planted in the 1960s and 1980s, so older vines.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, we can now say it's almost old vines, almost 50 years old. I think it was 71, something like this. Yes, so it's almost 50 years old. Yeah, but most of my vineyards, I am blessed because most of my vineyards are old, but the problem makes that the yield are never big. So we're happy to work on a small yield, but we don't like too small yield.
Right.
We're happy to make wine too.
You talked about in the beginning that you're gaining next year. You will gain some Cote de Nuits village in Comblanchien, but for this one, it's Haute Cote de Nuits. Can you tell us where the vineyard is located?
So the Haute Côte de Nuits is a quite wide appellation, if you want. higher in altitude. That's why we say haute côte, like a high coast, if you want. But me, I'm lucky because these vineyards are located in Conquer, just at the start of the haute côte. So it means if you are in the last up the hill of Vosne-Romanée with the last Vosne-Romanée village wines, then you just have to go 1 kilometer further and you can find my Haute Cote de Nuits vineyard.
Okay.
So it's like maybe 40, 50 meters higher than what we can find on most of the Côte de Nuits. But in that vineyard, it's very reasonable. So we don't have the big delay of maturity. And most of the time we can pick the grapes like 2-3 days after finishing picking our other vineyards on the coast. And so this vineyard is located on the platform, quite a rocky platform, on plateau, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so quite rocky with a lot of stones. And this makes something not too much body, not too much strong, if you want. And we keep elegance and a very easy drinking character. I don't want to make my haute côte over-bodied.
Makes sense.
So
and you mentioned before that for this wine you don't really age in the new oak, maybe 5 or 10%, but
yeah, 5 or 10%. I prefer to preserve the nice fruit character. Yeah.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
I don't know if you have some to taste.
Sadly, I don't. I think Dustin might, but do you have some, Dustin? You have the samples, Dustin?
I had a couple extras sign on, so I don't have any left over, but I did taste them through them yesterday to make sure that everything was showing well and they were singing.
So it's sad for me, but because I live in Texas, so we don't sell Guillaume's wines here in Texas, so it's more difficult for me to have some samples. But I'm not tasting with you today. Go ahead.
In 18, we've got a lot of roundness in this haute côte. Nice dark fruit character, because as I told you, 18 is quite ripe, but the tannins showing quite supple. It makes nice energy as well, because my 18 were picked with, at the bottling, the pH were around 3.4, between 3.4 and 3.55, something like that. So quite good to keep this energy. And my haute côte always have the roundness, the nice fruit character, and the energy. It's always very living wine. So I don't know if the other have samples and if it tastes well in some small things like this. I never tried, and but I hope can make you happy to have a short first view of this.
It's also, I should have said this before too, but I think a lot of people would be interested to hear your impressions and your thoughts about the year, about 2018 as a vintage. Beginning with what it was like during the growing season, and what you found during harvest, and the wines, the character, all of these sorts of things.
18 was warmer than 17. The start of the season, the buds birth was very young, early, because the winter was the winter before was quite warm. But the matter is that we can say that every year now, almost no winter and early start of the season. So it means when it starts early, you pick early. So we picked I started picking my 18s on the 5th of September.
Okay.
So which is quite early. When I started working with my father in '97, we never picked the grapes before 20 or 25, 25th of September. And now we did 18 on the 5th. We did 19 was 16 of September, and 20 we started on the 28th of August.
Wow.
And everything was finished on the 31st of August. So,
wow.
But the growing season was quite okay, but warm and dry until June. But in June we had a big episode of rain. So big showers of rain for 2-3 weeks, and then everything dry. And so we thought we would have a very low yield, like in 15s. But actually, just before picking the grapes, the berries started drying out, and we say we will have no juice this year and make something very small. But at the end, it was quite a big surprise because yield were bigger than all expectations in whites and reds in Burgundy. So that was a very good news. And for me, if you want 18, I always present 18 to my clients like the cousin of 15s. We are in the same kinds of aromatic, if you want, tannins character, but the 18s have a little bit more definitions.
15.
Yeah,
compared to 15.
18 you must be patient to drink your 18 a little bit, but they are big wines and made for very long lasting. Yeah. It's a very serious vintage for long lasting. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
We are lucky because also this nice ripe character make them showing quite well young as well. Yeah. But for aging it will be even bigger than 15s.
We have a question in the chat, but I'll wait on that one because it's about the Nuits-Saint-Georges, which we'll have a little bit later. So, we'll taste a Nuits-Saint-Georges a little later.
To let you know about the small quantities we produce. If you want, for the Bourgogne of Cote de Nuits, we produce an average of 6,000 bottles a year,
okay,
to 7,000 bottles a year. So,
and that's
and that's my biggest vineyard.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's your largest vineyard, and it's only 6,000 bottles. So
for the 5 village wines, we produce an average of 1,500 bottles and 2,300 bottles. So it means for my Vosne-Romanée or my Gevrey-Chambertin, my Chambolle-Musigny, every year I've got 5 to 6, 7 barrels of each, not more, for all the world. And as you know, we export in 23 countries. So my total production is like 25,000 bottles, but we share that with 23 countries.
Yeah, I think everyone on this call knows has seen the very, very small quantities on these wines, and there's not a lot to go around, but now you understand why. So, so I want I think we should talk maybe about the Fissin, yeah.
No problem.
And Fissin, or Fixin, as we say here in the South. It's an appellation that it's an appellation that I think a lot of people
the foreigners will say
don't have a lot of experience with, yeah.
But if you want to speak like a real Burgundy man, you say a Fissin.
Fissin, yeah.
You don't say Fixin, you say Fissin. It's like a Montrachet, you don't say Montrachet.
Right, exactly.
But I'm sure you know.
So I think it's an appellation that is it's not well known by people. Maybe they've had some examples, but not a lot of experience compared to like a Gevrey or Moët-Saint-Denis, or
Yeah, we'll speak about cuisine again, but Fissin is like the little cousin of Gevrey. Fissin is located like 2 kilometers in north of Gevrey-Chambertin, and if you want, you've got different. Yeah, there, yeah. just below the Route des Grands Crus.
And I'm showing. I can zoom in here. That would help. Yeah. So here's a map I'm showing also of Fissin, so they can see where the vineyard is as well.
Okay. And if you want, Fissin is, as you said, is less well known than Gevrey or Vosne-Romanée. Fissin is more like Marcenay-la-Côte, vineyards like that, or maybe we could say in the Cote de Nuits, and the equivalent in Côte de Beaune would be something like Savigny-les-Beaunes compared to Pommard or to Volnay. Now it's getting more and more famous because, as you know, unfortunately for the clients, the prices have increased in Burgundy in the last years, and the availabilities are very complicated because the world demand is very big. So people start to go more for this kind of appellation, a little bit more affordable. But we must also say that the quality has a lot increased in this appellation in the last 15 years, because it's so complicated to get new vineyards now in Burgundy that even the great names from Vosne-Romanée or Chambolle-Musigny who wants to enlarge their offer, they went to get vineyards in Fissin. And we did the same because, as you know, we started from almost, my father started from zero, except his rent. So we went where we could find vineyards, if you want. And I've got a small domain, but I'm lucky because it's a small parcel spread all over the Cote de Nuits. So it's a good representation of different terroirs. And the great point for us is that we've got only one vineyard in each village, but it also means we do a single vineyard wines. So it's a parcellaire, you can say in English. Single parcel wine. Yeah. And so we've got the lieu-dit, so the subdivision name on each wine, and this will be more representing. Representative of each terroir, because sometimes when you blend Vosne-Romanée area in south with Vosne-Romanée vineyard in north, for example, it can make like a wrong wedding. But here there's no question of wedding, because it's all come from the same place, and that's why my vineyards. I hope, and people say they show well their terroir and the real character of the appellation. Yeah.
That makes sense. And we have a question about location. Someone's asking, how far are you from Pierre Gelin? From him.
Pierre Gelin has a lot of vineyards. So I could not tell you exactly where they are, because they are. Yeah, I know where the winery is, like 300 meters or 400 meters from my vineyard, but his vineyards I could not tell you.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I don't know where his parcels are.
I know he's got the Premier Cru, like Les Hervelets, which are in the top part of Fissin.
Okay.
But you see at the map, the location of my vineyards is quite well. It's on a very gentle slope. The vineyard is almost 50 as well. Let me check.
Yeah, planted in 1970 and 73. So yeah.
So
so I
very pleased. You know, Fissin can be like a rustic. People used to say that Fissin has more rustic tannins. And as you know, my wines, I work a lot with the elegance and the silkiness of the tannins. So my Fissin is more feminine and shows some elegant and supple tannins, and that's why it goes quite well with many meals and easy to approach.
Yeah, I agree.
Dedicate like me.
Nice. So yeah, it's a great. it's a village, La Place, and I showed the map on the screen. I hope everyone saw that, where it's located in the village. But it's a great location. It's just really in the middle, right on the middle of the hillside.
Fissin is a very good value wine because quality is quite high, and the price is not too high, and that's why Fissin works really well with restaurants in France. In France, I work with more than 40 Michelin-starred restaurants, and most of them take my Fissin, and many other restaurants with no stars. But because it's a good entry in the Burgundy world, if you want. Yeah. Quality is good, price is okay. Yeah. And so people who want to drink Burgundy without spending too much money, it's a very good value.
Well, speaking of price, let's we can talk about some of the more expensive areas in Burgundy now. So one of those is Chambolle-Musigny. I think that's the next wine we were going to try. And you have one vineyard in Chambolle, which is located near the just kind of underneath the village. Yeah, I can show people.
It's on the flat part of Chambolle-Musigny, just above the road, the main road from Dijon to Beaune.
Does everyone see the map that I have? Do you see the map I put on the screen of Chambolle? With okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The good point is that if you see the age of the vines, like 1/3 of the vineyard was planted in 1929, and the two other third 1975. So this was the very old vines from Burgundy. So the vegetal material is very strong and very good quality. So even if the location is not as great as some of my other vineyards, the plant itself makes the quality very high. And in this part of Chambolle-Musigny village area, this will produce Chambolle-Musigny with a bit more tannins than in the upper part on the slope. But so if you want, it's a little bit more masculine, but very good for aging. And when it's on the early tastings, at the end of the aging or beginning of bottling, you will feel the tannins a little bit more crispy than some of my other wines. But this will help to age very well through the years. Yeah,
like that, crispy tannins. And you mentioned for this the village wines, you're typically aging in around 30% or so of new barrels.
Yeah.
30-40%.
Yeah, that's it. If you want to do an average, on the 18, Fissin was like 30%. The Chambolle-Musigny was 35%, and the highest amount is for my Nuits-Saint-Georges Bas de Combe. I go up to 40, but because it's a really big wine.
Yeah. We're going to taste that. We'll talk about that one. Oh no, I was going to ask that question next. So I'll wait till we get to the Nuits-Saint-Georges for that question. So, for those of you with samples, Dustin did type into the chat the order that we're tasting them in. So we're actually we're not going exactly from north to south. We're jumping a bit here, but we're going to go after the Chambolle-Musigny. We're going to taste the Vosne-Romanée. So with the Vosne-Romanée, this is from, like you said, it's also from a single vineyard, a single parcel. And for those of you that know our portfolio, you sort of know this vineyard. It's called Vigneux. If you've ever had the Vosne-Romanée from Emmanuel Rouget, which we sell, part of the Emmanuel Rouget Vosne-Romanée, just village wine, comes from this vineyard as well. But Huh?
We are just neighbor
You're-
across, across the street. He's
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit downer than me, and me, I've got the upper part. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can talk about where you are exactly. Here's the vineyard that I've circled, Vigneux. So you're just underneath the Premier Cru of Les Souchaux and Romanée Saint-Vivant here. You're in the upper part here, yeah, where my
Yeah, just on the up and left.
up and left.
Yeah, with the V. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. So very good situation in the vineyard. Yeah.
Yeah. It's my youngest vineyard, only something like 33, 34 years old, I think.
And a part that was planted in 1970. So.
No, this is a mistake. It was
it is?
planted in 86.
Okay, only 86. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this is planted on the soil is quite shallow in this area. It can be dry quite quickly, so there is some stress for the vines, and so they produce very tiny berries every year. So not a lot of juice, but quality very concentrated and very with supple tannins, like velvety tannins of the real character of the Vosne-Romanée. And yeah, it makes something very nice. As you said, you see just below the Souchaux, Croix-Rameau, which is another Premier Cru, and then you've got the Saint-Vivant. So for a small little vineyard, it's very well. It's quite blessed.
Yeah.
And so on these wines in 08, there was like 6.5 barrels, and
You mean 18?
in 18, sorry, yeah. I did what? 08? No, yeah. I was thinking about my daughter maybe. In 18, yeah. And yeah, this wine is characterized with a very velvety texture, like the Vosne-Romanée character. And you can also find it's more floral. The Vosne-Romanée is always more floral than the other wines. You can find some rose petal character, some violet as well.
That's what I always get with this wine. Of course, I don't have it in front of me today, but I've tasted it many times, and I always get so much more of the floral component character from when you're with your Vosne-Romanée.
And I don't know if you haven't tasted any 18 in bottles yet from me.
No, not in bottle. No, only from your barrels.
When you came last year in the cellar at the same time, you probably remember 18 was showing with strong tannins.
Very structured, yeah.
Very structured, very masculine, and the aromatic was a little bit more warmer than usual, with like my usual wines. And actually, like in December, when the small cold we only had came into the cellar and the temperature went down, everything became much more nice. Tannins became round, and everything supple down. I don't know how you say.
Like it became softer.
Softer. Everything became softer, and all the aromatic came down to just more black fruit than red fruit, but something very gentle. And so they became very gentle. And if you were with us tonight tasting this, you could see that everything is round and delicate. And it's completely amazing compared to last year when we met.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased with this big change of direction.
Yeah. It's amazing how often
they are solid.
This happens in Burgundy, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying it's amazing how often this happens in Burgundy, where the wines taste one way in barrel, and then after the winter, everything can completely change.
Yeah, there's always it goes one way, and then at one specific date it turns the other way, and then everything comes more gentle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's good. That's
Yeah.
the magic of Burgundy. Huh?
Exactly. So we have a wine you mentioned we're going to taste next. It's the Nuits-Saint-Georges, the Bas de Combe. And you make two wines from Nuits-Saint-Georges, Bas de Combe and a Premier Cru.
Yeah, I make a village wine, which looks almost like a Premier Cru, as you know, les Bas de Combe. It's a very serious vineyard. And then I've got the Nuits-Saint-Georges Premier Cru aux Argillas. You want me to... you tell me when you want to speak about the Argillas after the tasting, maybe?
Yeah, let's... Well, we have a question about...
Argillas and Echezeaux.
We have a question about the Argillas. Someone in the chat asked, could you ask Guillaume about the Nuits-Saint-Georges Premier Cru Argillas? My customers love it. So I think just to speak about it in general, but maybe after the Bas de Combe, you can talk about that.
We do after?
Yeah.
You want to do after, yeah?
Sure,
Well,
after the Bas de Combe.
Okay.
I'll show everyone where Bas de Combe is. It's a great vineyard.
Yeah. So Bas de Combe, you see on the map, but what you don't see on this map is that below the circle, all the white part is a vineyard of Vosne-Romanée.
Right here.
So all this white part is Vosne-Romanée Réa, a good village of Vosne-Romanée. And on the left of the map, sorry, on the right of the map, just
right
next to Bas de Combe, you will find the Vosne-Romanée Premier Cru, les Chaumes. So if you want Vosne-Romanée, Nuits-Saint-Georges Bas de Combe is stuck in the middle of Vosne-Romanée vineyards on the north and on the east. That's why you will find a very good Vosne-Romanée character and spirit in this wine. And if you want, you could even say that the northwest corner of the Bas de Combe starts the Vosne-Romanée Premier Cru, les Malconsorts.
Malconsort, yeah, right there.
Yeah. So no, it's a beautiful location for vineyard. And the good point is that this vineyard, our parcel starts from the bottom road to the upper road just below Les Boudeaux.
Right here. Yep.
I cannot see your
it goes from the bottom of the vineyard all the way to the top of the vineyard.
Yeah. From east to west. On the slope, and when you go this way, you go on the slope towards Les Boudeaux. Boudeaux is on the slope.
Yeah. And
so my Bas de Combe it was planted in it's main. No, it's not 61. It's 37 only. So it's more than 80 years old vineyard.
Wow.
And so this gives very supple tannins. The soil of Les Bas de Combe brings always minerality.
Can you talk about the soil a little bit? You have it's very stony, yeah, lots of stones.
It's more clay and limestone, but you can get some silt in the upper part. A lot of silt and sand. So the top half of Les Bas de Combe. When I did some analysis, I realized it was almost the bottom of Les Boudeaux soil.
Yeah.
But I think I was talking about that with one client the other day, with Alan Meadows, actually. Alan Meadows came last week, and we talked about the soils. And I say maybe the top of Bas de Combe should be Boudeaux, but when they did the road from Vosne-Romanée and Nuits-Saint-Georges, they didn't want to do like that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that's why the top of Bas de Combe is not a Boudeaux, but it deserves it.
Yeah, interesting.
You know, Les Bas de Combe, and Bas de Combe has got everything. He's got the power, the elegance, the Vosne-Romanée silky character, and the soil brings minerality as well. So it's very complete wine. I would say it's the wine, the village wine of the representing the best hors domaine.
And then while we're looking at the map, it's probably a good transition to speak about Argila, the Premier Cru, which is right here.
Argila, as you can see, this is the end of the coteau coming from Vosne-Romanée.
Yeah.
And all this north part of Nuits-Saint-Georges village and Premier Cru will make more feminine and more, the tannins will be more on the elegance and finesse than in the south part. This is not a critique about the south part, but the south part of the Nuits-Saint-Georges will make more masculine wines with stronger tannins, more for aging. All the Vosne-Romanée side, Nuits-Saint-Georges Premier Cru, we can say will be more feminine.
Yeah.
And
you have very different.
You can see between north and south of vineyard, there is like a corridor coming from the Haute Côte.
Mm-hmm.
You see the road coming
right
from this. And if you go toward this direction up, you will go to the Haute Côte de Nuits. And this is a corridor where comes down all the cold wind from the Haute Côte. And so that's why Les Argila is quite a fresh terroir. We always have to pick these grapes at the end of our vendange harvest.
Yeah.
Because it always needs a little bit more time due to his cold situation.
Because of the cold wind coming through this little, almost like a canyon. If for those of you who've never visited,
it's like a corridor. Yeah. But
right
the hail can come from there.
yeah.
And you see, Argila, there is Aux Argila Premier Cru, very small, like 1 hectare, 0.8 in total. And up there, you've got Les Argila Village.
Right here.
You were talking about Rouget. I think Rouget have some.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Part of his Nuits-Saint-Georges is here.
But this is Les Argila and not Aux Argila.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's good. So how would you, if you talked about the difference between Bas de Combe, your Bas de Combe and your Argila in terms of the character of the wine, what do you find normally is the main difference?
Les Argila, Bas de Combe, when it's young, will show a little bit more muscles, bigger structure. It shows big structure. But with also, as I tell you, quite silky tannins. But Bas de Combe, when it's young, is a little bit more masculine. Then with the age, it becomes very attractive and more supple and everything, but it needs more time. Argila has a bit more depth, but Argila shows selective from the beginning and very fine tannins, not big shoulders, but very long lengths. And the thing is that when you taste it 10 years later, it still have this delicateness, but still standing up very well. Les Argila is like my tall dancer.
I like that. So one of my partner, Dionisi, my partner in DNS Wines, he typed into the chat, it's like Nuits-Saint-Georges. It's like the Nuits-Saint-Georges version of Clos Saint-Jacques, because you have situated here on the Combe, on the same area like where Clos Saint-Jacques is on the Combe de Lavaux in Gevrey.
Yeah, why not?
we're gonna go with that. I like it. Cool. So we have well, I just mentioned Gevrey. That's the last wine we have to taste. So we can talk about the Gevrey, and then maybe you can say some things about the Echezeaux. I wish we could taste the Echezeaux, but I think we have what do we have, 36 bottles or something for all of our markets. So it's a little difficult to take samples of this, but
yeah. It's you've got even less. You've got even less than that.
Is it less? Yeah, I can't even remember. Yeah, it's not much though. Yeah.
Yeah, 18 or 24, something like that. Yeah, for all California and the other states.
Yeah, that's right. So
yeah. I will say after, but yeah, the problem with Echezeaux is that we only produce like 700 bottles for the world. Yeah. So it makes things complicated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Complicated to share. So Gevrey-Chambertin, so it's les Champperriers. Champperrier is located in the north part of Gevrey-Chambertin in Brochon village.
So there's the Champerrier here.
Yeah, very well located.
So I actually have, if you don't mind, I have something I was going to show everyone that I think is important to remember for, or to know for, let me see if I can fix this. It's not the right screen. To explain kind of this area of Gevrey-Chambertin, because it's very unique. So let's see, we have, I think this is the screen. Yeah. No.
Oh.
No, not the screen. That's not the right one. I'll figure it out.
C'est tout le temps. C'est dans les dessous ou les dessous? C'est dessous si on veut. Ouais, je suis juste en dessous le chemin là.
All right. Well, you can continue to talk about the vineyard, and I'll try to make this work if I can.
Gevrey is like 67 something years old, something like that, or 60. Attendez, 63. No, 63. If I don't know how to count anymore. Yeah. 43 plus 20. C'est ça, 63, ouais. 63 years old. And les Champperriers means field of stones. So there's a lot of small stones in this vineyard, and the mother rock is very shallow. So it means the roots will go directly inside deep inside the rocks.
I think I have it now.
This gives a very mineral character to this wine.
Do you see the screen, everyone? Are you looking at a photo of Gevrey from the air, from above? Did I do it right?
Yeah, but we cannot see Champperrier on this one. Huh?
No, you can't. But just to explain a little bit, this is the Combe de Lavaux here. So it's a bit of a, not really a canyon, but sort of almost like a valley that goes up towards the Haute Côte here. Kind of like we were describing in Nuits-Saint-Georges, although that one is much more severe. This is a more gentle sort of a canyon. I don't know. Can't think of a better word right now, but you can see how it works here. And this is the Clos Saint-Jacques here that DNS was talking about. But this is it's an important feature in Gevrey-Chambertin that really affects the way that a lot of the vineyards, the soil and the terroir of a lot of the vineyards. And if you look at the map of Gevrey, there's the Combe de Lavaux that we were looking at in the photo, and Champperrier is here. A lot of the vineyards in this part, you have all the great Premier Crus like Clos Saint-Jacques, Casetier, but even these Premier Crus, including Champperrier, are sort of protected by that hillside, and they sit on a bedrock of limestone here. Very, very high quality soil, and not very deep topsoil on the top here in this part of Gevrey. The effect that Combe de Lavaux has on the village is you have all of this for many thousands of years, or even millions of years. You have this erosion and all of this alluvial soil and slope wash that comes out of the Combe de Lavaux, and it makes almost like this giant fan that comes out from the combe there. And in these areas here, you have much deeper soil on the top, and it's much more flat land, and it can make really good wine. But if it's a wet year, maybe it's a little bit more difficult here. I've always felt like, and I would love your opinion, Guillaume, but I've always felt that when you talk about the village wines of Gevrey-Chambertin, the best terroirs are here underneath the hillside here, underneath these Premier Crus, and you have really excellent terroir in this area. Yeah. Yeah,
it's not fair to say that because it's my location, but I agree. Now the best village wines are are here. You've got Champperrier, you've got Enchant, maybe Echezeaux, no? Where is Echezeaux?
Echezeaux is
it's not on this map, but
it's too small.
Just a little bit further in north. But no, this
Right
Champperrier
here,
makes something very special. And all these parts of village wines are much greater than the yellow one. But yeah, the winemaker adapts his winemaking to his vineyards and soils. So it means even in the yellow part, you can make a great wine if you're a good winemaker and a vine grower. But it's more plan, and it's more, the soil is deeper than in the area where is my vineyard. It's true.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why I told you Champperrier always have the minerality, the very fine tannins. When you taste my Gevrey 18 blind, you could almost say you've got Vosne-Romanée tannins. The tannins are so supple and round in the mouth. It's a beautiful vineyard there. And in that vineyard, that's where I've got the most beautiful grapes I mean bunches in all my estate, because the bunches are very long and very aerated. It means any berry touch each other. So it's very ripe all around until the bottom of the berry. And very ripe, very aerated, so very high quality tannins and flavors.
Yeah, so I've always loved the wine, and I agree. I mean, it's very supple and elegant, and a lot of people, I think, their idea of Gevrey is very powerful and very firm tannin, and
but not at all here. Yeah.
Yeah, not here.
As I always say, also to my clients. You make your taste where the place you come from. You can understand that?
Yeah.
You have the taste from the place you come from.
Yeah.
It means me. I grew up in Vosne-Romanée. I started making wine with Vosne-Romanée, Chambolle-Musigny, Nuits-Saint-Georges, which is very Vosne. And so then when we went to Fissin, to Gevrey, we made it on the Vosne style way, if you want.
Yeah.
And so we make it more silkier, more feminine. And if and you can see that when you taste like Vosne-Romanée from Gevrey producers, who were always used to make quite big Gevrey with big structure and big character. When they come to Vosne-Romanée and make some Vosne-Romanée, they make it stronger than a Vosne-Romanée winemaker. You understand that?
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. So before we leave, we said we would talk a little bit about the Echezeaux. You have a very small. How much is it? Let's see. You have 1/3 of 1 hectare, basically.
Yeah, we've got 1/3 of 1 hectare, but the thing is that we share with the owners, so it's a sharecropping vineyard, and we look after the vineyards and make the wines, age the wines, and give half of the bottles to the owners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a bunch of amateurs, and they share the wines between them, and they don't sell the wines; they just drink it for pleasure.
And your parcel in Echezeaux is, I'm showing a map now of Echezeaux, is here, yeah, in Les Treux.
So you see just next to Grand Echezeaux. Grand Echezeaux is on the left. On the right, sorry, I've got problems with right and left. But Grand Echezeaux and Les Treux and Clos Saint-Denis on the left. This is all flat part of Echezeaux. And then from upper the road, you will start the coteaux and the Echezeaux on the slope. So the things you need to know is that on the flat part, the soil characteristic gives more body. There's maybe a little bit more clay. So the Echezeaux from this part will show a little bit more muscles in the beginning as well. And we'll need a little bit more time to soften. So this is a very Echezeaux is maybe the longer lasting Echezeaux wine.
And for
So
those of you,
wait a little bit more, but then you can wait for ages with your bottles. If you like to age the wines, it's a very good value. Yeah. It's a little bit more masculine than the Echezeaux, Les Rouges du Bas, for example, or something like that.
right?
But, these few vintages, I did a lot of efforts to do a little bit less extraction and manage this well. This better, and so now I am able in the last vintages to have the body, the structure, but very soft tannins. So it makes something juicy, deep, with long lengths, but approachable, a little bit younger. But with this kind of wines, you know, it's a crime to drink it before at least 5 years or 7 years.
Yeah, agreed.
To keep them 20, 25 years, there's no matter at all. They will be there.
Absolutely.
Or so if you have to drink it, as I know, the world is go fast and cannot wait. So if you drink it before 5 years, the thing will be to give a big decant with a bit of shaking, you know, good aeration, 1 decant or double decant, and after 1 hour, it should be very nice for your dinner.
Yeah. Well, we only have, with only 21 bottles or 24 bottles or something. I'm not sure if I'll be able to have any for myself, but maybe some other people here on the call today can tell me how great it is. So I think I think we covered a lot here today. I mean, I learned a lot, and I'm sure I hope anyway that many people on the call learned a lot about you and your history and your wines and your philosophy. If anybody has any other questions before we say goodnight to Guillaume, please feel free, type them and let me know. Otherwise, I'm not sure what else we have to go over here today. I think we've covered a lot. You got anything, Dustin?
No, just thank you for telling us about all of the wines and the crus and the cuvées, and it's very nice.
Yeah, definitely thank you, Guillaume, for taking the time to share all of this with us and all of the knowledge and information. So
it was my pleasure, big pleasure to be with all of you. Thanks for your time too, and I was happy to share a bit of my small knowledge and my love about wines and vineyards. And I hope you will enjoy the wines if you can taste them, and hope to see you one day in the cellar with Todd.
Yeah. I hope
when things will be normal, you will take a big plane coming all to France and come to see us.
Can't wait. I'm going crazy. And I hope next time I can bring a lot of the people here today, and we can see you in person in the cellar instead of through a computer screen.
Yeah, but I hope we will all be soon free in the streets and enjoying life again as before, because it's been a bit long, and would be great for everybody that things go back to normal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well,
take care.
I think that's it. So we'll stop here, but again, thank you to everyone who joined today. And last thing I will say, I did record this call, so as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to put it up on our YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and search DNS, you'll find our channel there, so you can come back if you have any questions or you forgot something, and it'll be there and available there. So thank you again, and we'll see everybody soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Merci bien.
De rien.
Passe bonne fin de soirée, bon dîner, bon repas.
Merci, bonne journée à vous.
Oui, merci.
En espérant que tout aille bien.
Oui.
Ouais, très bien. Et à bientôt, j'espère.
Bon, et ben, à bientôt, on se tient au courant. Allez,
Bientôt.
bonne journée, au revoir.
Ciao. Ciao, Lucas.
Ah ouais. He's away.
OK.
I will tell him. Attends, il vient. Il est là. Tiens, il veut te dire au revoir.
Au revoir, Lucas.
Ciao, my friend.
Bonsoir. À bientôt, hein.
Merci, toi aussi, bye bye.
Bye bye, à bientôt.
Bye bye.
Bonne journée. Ciao.